Dr. Thomas Blume, welcome to Online Events Interview. Um, and we're here to talk about your unique approach to counselling, identity renegotiation. So, welcome tonight, Tom.
Thank you. It's fun to be here.
Great, great. So, maybe we could start by asking you just a little bit about yourself, Tom, and your background in terms of counselling and your work.
Okay. Really, the work that we're going to be talking about came out of my years as a nursery school and daycare teacher when I was working with young children, and that's where I formed a lot of my beliefs about people and how we operate. Um, so one of the things I learned there was that if you could make intentional changes in a place where you had some support for making those changes, you could really leave behind parts of yourself you didn't like. And that's then the metaphor I took into the virtual playground presentation I did last year in Second Life. Um, During those same years, I started finding out that working with children and their families was a whole lot more important or effective than working with them individually. So that really turned me into a relationship-focused counselor. And over the years, then working with adolescents was where I started getting more clear that adolescents appeared to be kind of stuck in a period in their lives when they they couldn't be the same person at school and at home and in the peer group. And yet they seemed to feel like somehow they were supposed to be the same person. So trying to take that same person home, they would talk to their parents the way they talked to their friends, and the parents wouldn't like it. And then they trying to make it all mesh seemed to cause problems. So my message to them was, you can be a different person in different places, and not only is that okay, but it's what we all do. And therefore, what counseling was for my adolescence was a process I called at the time social role negotiation, in which they kind of learned how to interpret a situation and determine how they could be um, whoever that situation called for. The catchphrase I came up with at the time was, "Who will you let me be in my relationship with you?" And to the extent that they could answer that question, then they would have successful relationships. So over the years, I've taken this into working with different kinds of populations, couples and families in particular, and have found that in families, people can learn to um, support each other in being who they need to be, and they can accommodate to the situations they're in, even when dramatic changes occur, like step families, where suddenly who I was allowed to be last week is not who I'm allowed to be this week.
Yeah, so that sounds like quite a journey from working with children and working with adults and then working with the whole group, the whole family, and helping people to think about their identity. And it sounds like a really interesting question that you've taken to lots of work. Could you repeat that again, Tom, please?
The question, who will you let me be
Yeah, who will
in
I?
my
Yeah, who will I?
relationship with you?
Hmm, that sounds like quite a profound question to bring into your work with your clients.
Well, and then having worked on this topic for years, it's been exciting over the last, let's say, 10, 15 years to see how much the idea of identity has come to play a major role in popular culture. So I now hear um, journalists as well as people on the street talking about identities. Like people can now see identities, group identities, individual identities. And so part of my mission at this point is to say, um, if that's what everybody else is talking about, maybe counselors can learn to talk about it too.
Yeah, yeah, like it's a theme that's really out there in the world. Who are we? And especially as the world transitions so quickly now in a globalized village, it's something we need to think about.
Well, part of the global village situation is that people are now in more contact, I think, with people who are somehow different from them. And in those contexts, it seems as if people are kind of celebrating their differences. They want to hang on to their differences. They don't want to just become a generalized, homogenized, universal person.
Yeah, there's something about those differences that bring us a rich diversity in our community.
And of course, can bring some challenges because people who are confronting differences that they don't know very much about are likely to draw conclusions. And the responsibility, I guess, we all have in that kind of a global village is to manage our part of the process, to give whatever clues we can to other people about how we want to be understood. And then also at the behavioral level, um, accommodate our ways of behaving so that they get what we want. And it may be different in different places. So I can come to the university and be one way, and I can go home and be another way. By the way, I didn't comment on the purple hair, and that's probably something I should mention. That was my way of demonstrating that in the world of Second Life, people have special opportunities to play around with how they present themselves. So in real life, it would be very hard for me to dye my hair purple in order to go to a concert and then get rid of the purple dye at home. But in Second Life, I can change my appearance every day.
So that's one of the real unique possibilities of using Second Life. And we're just zooming in on your hair there in the live stream. That kind of flexibility to reflect the different people we are in different settings.
Yes, and as I started getting into Second Life, one of the things I did was to review a wonderful book by Tom Belstorff, who's an anthropologist. In his book, Coming of Age in Second Life, he reports on his year in world and many interviews and other contacts he had with people. And he tells stories of people who have really played around with their identities in Second Life. They've taken advantage of that opportunity to be somebody in Second Life that they can't. They can in Second Life they can be community leaders, they can be philanthropists, they can be artists, they can be musicians, um, in ways that their real life situation doesn't.